Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I have a really exciting show for you today. I have someone I met several months ago, a published author, somebody crushing it in the highly competitive Texas market. Let's welcome Nancy Wallace-Lobbs to the show. How you doing this morning, Nancy?
Hey, I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm really excited. So out in sunny California. So
Yeah, we are kind of spoiled. We had a weird late May. It kind of rained, torrential rain at the end of May for like 3 days. It was really weird. So
yeah, it's been crazy here, humid. And then, this morning it was really nice. We've had tornadoes, flash
oh,
flood, and still doing real estate and all of it. So
yeah, Mother Nature's a little cranky right now. I think we're doing something to the area.
yes,
And
yes.
so, anyways, I wanted to start off this interview by talking about your book, Winning Deals in Heels. I was really intrigued by that title. I have a particular passion for helping women. Let's flash it up and let's talk about it.
There you go. All right, here it is. So, yeah, it was like a childhood bucket dream of mine to write a book. I never knew what I was going to write a book about. And the way this all came about was about a year ago, a little over a year ago, I was talking to one of my other real estate investing women friends, and they were just having a really hard time with the contractor and crying with the contractor. And it's like, yeah, I don't know if that's the best way to handle your contractors. They're just usually about, seems like the more you cry, they probably just are going to take your more money. So anyway, I started talking to a group of gals here, and, I go to a lot of real estate conferences and whatnot. And I really wanted to just kind of, there's a lot of us women gals out there that are doing real estate, that we're doing well, and kind of just putting a spotlight on, hey, you can do this too. So my target audience was people, that watch HGTV, or they have a desire to get into real estate. They don't have the confidence. Maybe they don't have the support. So all the women in the book, we all just started out regular person. I like to watch HGTV too and whatnot. And kind of the theme through the book is that, if you have a desire and perseverance, and find a mentor, you don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars to learn about real estate investing. But there's lots of info out on podcasts. There's a lot of different people that'll be willing to mentor you. You just need to kind of bring value. Like if you have time, find out if you can help a busy real estate investor. I know time's always a premium in my business. So we just really wanted to kind of showcase women real estate investors. Now, one of the things about the book is I also wanted to, yes, it was nice to write the book, but I also wanted to give back. So when the book, I reached out to a Hope Store here in Plano, Texas, and it's a nonprofit organization that helps families heal from domestic violence. So we kind of wanted to tie it in with women and families, and then that kind of segues into like my business, helping families, that they have a situation. So, yeah, the book's been great. And the Winning Deals in Heels, guys, you can get it for your gal, your partner, or whatever. So it's just a good message for everyone.
Yeah, so it sounds like when you sort of crafted the book, you actually went out and, I don't know if you want to call it, interviewed or networked with other successful female investors and kind of synthesized all that together. Is that a fair kind of categorization?
Yeah. So what I did is I reached out. Kristen Gersh, she's in the book. She owns Capricorn Mortgage. Hey, Kristen, give a little shout out to her. And this is how it works in the networking and mentoring. So a couple of years ago, I heard of Kristen, and she had this random meetup, just random, and she was talking about owner financing. And so I took copious notes, I asked a lot of questions, and I went home and I did everything that she said. And 3 weeks later, I had my first deal that I did owner finance. I bought it for 10, I sold it for 50 in 3 days. So that's a believer. Now, I didn't pay, I took an hour and a half out of my day to attend a free meetup. So anyway, that got me to thinking, So then she was the first person that I approached about being in the book. And then each woman kind of said, well, hey, I'd say, hey, do you know someone else? So all of the women have very successful businesses, and they all just met each other networking. So some of the gals in the book, I hadn't even met. Jamie Woolley, in the last person that I interviewed, she's a big time wholesaler here in the Dallas area. And I texted her, and she's busy. And I said, hey, doing this book. And she got right back to me, and boom, we made it happen. And so now, she's someone I can reach out to and say, hey, I've got this. So it was great for my business as well to network with all these successful gals.
So who else can we find in the book? So you talked about a wholesaler in your area, a private, somebody doing seller financing. What other kind of tidbits you want to
So
teach?
there is Amy Sayers. She owns August REI, and she is a loan servicing company. So when you're doing owner financing, you put your people through the RMLO process. You need a loan servicing company. Missy Wilson, she's got the Misinformed show here. Sandra Nesbitt, she's been in real estate for 20 years. She's also, she has a company called Retro Properties, big time buy and hold gal and wholesaler. We talked about Kristen. Shanoa Grow. Shanoa runs one of the largest RIAs here in the Dallas area. Her and her husband, Phil. They also are in Houston, San Antonio. Again, very fortunate that she had time to just, had to schedule it through her assistant, but, that she made time. And so I think that the message is that, these are some big time women real estate investors here in the Dallas market, and they made time to get the message out to the other gals. Belkis was great. I was struggling when I've been in real estate for a while. But when you get into the flipping and to the, the competitiveness, and I was struggling, and I reached out to Belkis, and she's in the Houston market, and her husband were so generous with their time. They gave me a few tips and tricks, and boom, I was on my way. Because sometimes you're doing it right. It's just maybe you need to be a little bit more persistent, maybe just change a wording of something. In Balkis's and Eric's case, what they did is they kind of had me restructure my company because we were having growing pains. And I was like, which is great. Love that problem. But it's really cool to have those networks. And now I feel with all the gals in the book, now I have just 10-folded or 10X, as Mr. Cardone likes to say, my network of women real estate investors, and then everyone that they know. So that's what's really awesome about the book. One of the things that we did is Hope's Door was launching their new, they have a real resale shop here to raise money. So they were having a rebranding and grand opening, and I got 8 of the 12, 11, 10 gals at the signing. So we had a group book signing back in April of the book, and that was really cool. We had people bringing out their children. My family was there. Everybody's family was there. It was an awesome event. We had a little press going on. So that's what I like about the book, is that it's very a give back moment, not just to Hope's Door, but to the gals in the group. And then I was able to bring them together, and we created basically a new mastermind with all of the gals in the book.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Speaking of masterminds and, really growing the mind share for ladies in the real estate business, I know you've just created, I believe, or you're running the Dallas chapter of a real estate meetup. Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So let's see. Again, another networking event I attended on private money lending, because I do a little bit of that as well. And I met a gentleman named Matt Faircloth, and he is out of Philadelphia. So we got to talking about, books and, networking. He goes, oh, you should meet my wife, Liz. And so Liz and I connected via Facebook, email. We had a call. And so she started a group called Invest Her Community. And they're based out of Philadelphia. They have 25 chapters across the U.S. And it's kind of a woman-focused meetup. So they didn't have anybody to run the Dallas chapter. So I, stepped up and said, yeah, I'd love to do it. So we had our inaugural meeting in May, and then we just had our second one last night. I'm proud to report we had a 25% increase in participation, or, people coming, because we're trying to get the word out. And we have 4 co-hosts. So it's myself, my daughter, Kelsey, who's got a social media guru background. She was the guest speaker last night on Instagram, How to Grow Up for Your Business. Haley Gant, she's at Quest Trust Offices, which a lot of people we work with have self-directed IRAs, and so she's an IRA specialist. And then Kristen Gerst, that I was talking about earlier. Kristen's big in the note space, very well connected. So it's a good group. Also age-wise, you know what I mean? And so we're able to attract a huge age group, plus, seasoned investors. We had a brand new gal that she's just getting started last night. And one of the cool things that we do, so Meetup's a little bit different. We do not have any alcohol. We don't have any food. And basically we advertise it. You better be ready to come to work. So last night, it's a 2-hour meetup. Last night we took 1 hour and we broke up into groups and we created from scratch an email drip campaign.
Nice.
Yeah. So all the gals, when they left last night, they can then take that. It was, we did a series of emails that people all contributed to. They left with that, and then they can customize it to their business. So, because one of the obstacles that we discussed was automating your business. And so you've got to have some automation. And so that's kind of one step in the marketing process, is you've got to kind of get your emails. And you should have seen the looks on the face when I told them we were going to do this exercise. People were uncomfortable. But you know what? I'm okay with that, because I'm getting them out of their zone, and, hey, you're going to learn. And so afterwards, after the painful exercise, because if you don't like to write, if you don't like to stand up in front of people, you're going to be uncomfortable at our meetup. So that was really, really good. So
I really like that idea, because, we've both been doing this a while, and sometimes you go to meetups and you see the same old people there, and they're just kind of wallflowers, and they don't really do anything, right? They're not, they give the time, but there's no execution. So I think that's a very nice twist to actually put in an activity into a meetup. And I'm going to recommend that to a couple of people I know that run them. So.
When we did the Instagram, because what our format is, people come and then we, spend a little time on introduction. And what we're really focused on is, what obstacle are you facing that's preventing you from growing your business? And so there's some things that came up, at automation, processes, work and balance life, especially as females. Not that other people, men don't feel this too, but, typically we're the caregivers, and we're taking care of the kids and the dogs and the cats and, our husbands, and and we're making sure dinner's on the table, or getting the kids to soccer practice, or whatever it is. And so I think everybody in this day and age with social media, we just face those challenges. So we're going to actually focus on that. But I think too that there's not, I don't know how it is in your market, but here, like if I was to go to a meetup and it was all, it's very competitive in the Dallas market. Mm-hmm. So most of the time, real estate investors are kind of close to the heart. They're not going to give out all their little tips and tricks and whatnot. And so we want to try and be transparent, because you know what? I think I was saying this before, you can't be all things to all people. And so, you know what? I'm not going to be able to close every single deal out there. So why not share what I know? Because maybe this gal over here, or this guy over here, based on how I use my tips and tricks, he's going to get the deal. We're not going to be competing for the same exact deal, because we're dealing with people, and people are going to do business with who they like, who they trust, who they know. So I think that's important too. So we're very transparent, and and I like the idea that we're actually creating something in the meetup that we can share. And we did the Instagram thing last night, and so there were a wide range of age groups, myself included. So my daughter was the one that gave the presentation. So she's a millennial, and she gets it. She did a great job. But we literally had people pull out their phones, download the Instagram app, and create their account if they didn't have one. And about half of the people didn't have one. Yeah. And then she went through, how you should, brand yourself with your business, and, all the little steps. So I was like, yay, because I even learned a few tips and tricks last night. So
very, very cool. One thing you hit on, I want to make sure we hit again, is, in real estate, you can come to this as somebody with a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset. Mm-hmm. And the most successful people I've seen, just like yourself, come from an abundance mindset, giving freely, helping. So I just want to applaud that.
Well, thank you. And you know what? I'm just, I was very fortunate. I had a great mentor when I started out. And, I just feel that, yes, it's competitive, but we can all learn from one another, and it's, why not help each other grow? Because really we're all, at the heart of it, we're all helping somebody with a difficult situation. You know what I mean? Most of the time.
Yep.
Yes, this is how we make our living, but, I don't have to cutthroat out here and be here and, I feel like I have a lot of integrity and I like to work with people with integrity. And you know what? That serves me well because I'm very successful at what I do. So, I mean, you can be that person that's, a little shyster or whatever, but you know what? You're not going to be that successful. I mean, it's
Yeah.
going karma, right? Karma.
Amen. Yeah. Anybody who comes in this game, Scarcity, may get lucky on a deal or two, but their name will get trashed. They won't be in the business long term. They'll burn out.
Right.
And the real estate investing has a way of discarding people that come in with a
Yeah,
scarcity mindset.
and you really do have to have a passion for it because, not every day is roses. Not every day is a fun podcast, right? I mean, there's plenty. I've been screamed at plenty of times, get off my front porch or whatever. But then you have those times that, people are really satisfied, that you did solve their issue. One of my best stories is that we helped a family. The mother had passed away like over a year, and they just didn't want to let go of the house. They just, and it was, in really bad shape. So we finally, after 6 months of talking to the family back and forth, we finally purchased the home and we flipped it. And we told them what we were going to do. And we always try to keep something of the house, some little, memento of the house. So we were able to keep the coach lights on this house, and we, took them off and repainted them. But I had the family come back. So there was, I think, 5 boys and the dad. And I had them come back before we put it on the market, and we took pictures. And they were so happy how I had treated their family home. And basically, I was putting a new family in there to, give memories, because they had lived in the house over 30 years. And it was just a really, really good feeling. So, those types of things, especially if you do cold calling or whatever, you're going to get yelled at. Let's just, and you just got to go, I'm going to put a smile on it and keep going. So
there you go. Well, let's jump into your business now, because you've been, like you said, you've been doing this a while. You do some owner financing, some buy and hold, some flips. So what is your business, Nancy?
So we had been buy and hold for a long time. And I have to say, I love your book, and I'm just going to give you a shout out because when we met in January, when you're a landlord, and I have a small property management company, you kind of you like to have the tenant in there, you tenant in there. And so anyway, if y'all don't know what a crocodile property is, you need to buy Michael's book, because Nancy had one of those. So I got back from Richmond. I took care of my crocodile property, and moved on with that one.
Very cool.
So, but what I really, really like doing is owner financing. Affordable housing is just not here. I mean, the whole country is facing a problem of affordable housing. So we really look for houses that are pretty distressed, and we've bought some pretty distressed one, and we'll go in and fix them up to a certain degree. But they're at a price point that people can afford them, right? And then number one, you're taking a house that, has been neglected. It's usually vacant. I mean, no one wants to live next door to a house that, it brings down the property value. So I really enjoy owner financing because, number one, I'm helping a family get rid of some kind of problem property.
Yeah.
And number two, I'm able to help a family that cannot go to the big four to get a loan. Yeah. I've been self-employed for a long time. I get it. It's hard to get money when you're self-employed. And there's a lot of people that have, I think it's like over 50% of the population are self-employed. Here in the Dallas area, it's like a 51% rental market.
Wow.
So more people rent here than they do buy. So why is that? Well, I happen to live in an area that's pretty, and just like California, how do people afford it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have property taxes here that are just killer, especially if rental property. So I'm really, really focused on affordable housing. I think I think without housing in our country, it contributes to a whole lot of other problems. And that's just my own personal, won't get on a soapbox or anything, but people need a decent place to live, safe neighborhoods, and that's what I like to do.
So let me break down your model. So you buy a distressed asset. I'm just going to put a number on it. Let's say it's 50 grand.
Yes.
Are you using your capital, or are you borrowing at some lower rate and then you fix it up and then you owner finance it at 150, or what's it how does it break down?
Okay. Well, I'll give you an example of one we're doing right now. So we purchased the property for 50 and we bought it. The owner is actually, it was free and clear. It was a pre-probate lead.
Okay.
So what we did is and I'll just kind of give you a little tip. The way I market is I do direct mail and I follow up with phone calls. So we use virtual assistants and that kind of thing because people are always like, how do you find those deals or whatever? So I do pre-probate. And it takes a while to close those deals. So it took like 3 months. So what we were able to talk with the seller about, we try to find out what it is they want besides selling the property. So in this case, she wanted $8,000. We said, great, why don't we give you $8,000? And she's owner carrying 42 to us. So we bought the house for 50. We gave her $8,000 of cash and 40. Now, so that we weren't using any of our money, I help people coordinate their small dollar IRAs.
Yep.
So I know some people with small dollar IRAs. I reached out to one of them. I said, hey, do you want to lend $14,000? Because I needed to make some repairs to the property.
Sure.
And so we're still in the process of doing that. So we will make repairs. Now, this ARV on this house is 150.
Okay.
So I'm not going to go in and totally flip it. So our plan is 150,000. Typically our terms are 15 to 20% down.
Okay.
And we'll finance up to 15 to 20 years. So, but yeah, that's a typical deal. My ARV, I'm getting ready to do my first house that's a little over 150. So it'll be interesting. I'll have to report back. But we bought the house at auction last year for 60.
Oh, wow.
The tax value on the house, okay, this is completely wrong, but this is why you have to pay attention to, if you live in a state that have property taxes like us,
yeah,
$292,000. Yeah, the house is not worth that. It is not worth it. But I don't know. And I called the appraisal district. How did you get this? Well, it's a big house, and they just multiplied the square footage by the average price. I was like, yeah. So we're actually in the process of protesting that property tax. So anyway, we're going to put that house on the market. We did some repairs to it. And what we're going to do is, now when you're talking about the financing, so we do get long-term financing in place. I work with lenders that understand asset-based lending, which is different. They're not really looking at my financials because, again, I'm self-employed. They want to know like the cash flow on the property. So in this particular case, we have a tenant in there.
Yeah.
And so we were able to demonstrate the cash flow, the asset, and we're not, cashing out a bunch of money on it. We're just getting out of debt. I'm pretty debt averse as far as, you know what I mean? Like personally, leveraging is great. So we bought another house subject to. So we try to get most of them subject to, or I have private money lenders that will loan 5, 10, 15 years. So
right. Okay. So let's just go back to that first example. 50, she wanted 8, 40, and you borrowed 14. So when you're selling that at 150, let's say 20% down, my math says you're going to have some original debt left over, either the
yes. So from that. So what we'll do is we'll pay off the private money lender, the 14.
Yep, makes sense.
Now, and then our rate, the 42 that we have left on it. Okay. Our interest rate is only, I forgot to mention that, 4%.
Okay. Now I
get it. And then we'll sell it at 9.5, 10.
Right.
And so then we'll keep the delta. And then
so you'll do a wrap?
Yeah. Exactly. And then the plan is with that particular property, we got the money for 5 years. So the person that buys it, they'll have to refinance out of 5 years. But there's also ways, Kristen Gers, I haven't sold my first note, but I'm setting up, she works with me to, help me get the underlying mortgages and all that set up so I can sell the note to pay off the debt for that one and still retain all of it. So that's a whole different show, don't you think?
No, absolutely. Yeah. So I just want to summarize what I took away from your business model, right?
Okay.
You find a distressed seller, totally get it. Find out what they want. This case, 8K, totally get it. She finances you at a nice low rate, 4% in this case, 5-year balloon. Then what you do is you fix it up, you sell it, seller financing, let's call it 150. You get 20% down. So your private money investors pay back sub 6 months. Then you sell it, call it 9%. You wrap the first, and then you tie a 5-year balloon to that new purchase so that if it, when they refi you out, everybody gets paid off clean.
Exactly.
Got it.
And then we're just getting the mail, what do you call it? Mailbox money.
Yeah. Mailbox
money. One of my first ones that I did, I'm just going to tell your audience how we did it. So I went to that Kristen's little meetup, came home, And I sent out postcards, right? I just did some postcards to a zip code that I wanted to buy a house in. And we got this guy to call us, right? And when I say that, I mean, we weren't the only investor ever talking to him. So I have a partner, and the seller and my partner ended up bonding over football. Bonding over football. And we bought that house sight unseen over the phone for 10 grand. Yay.
Yeah.
Right?
Land value.
So, I mean, in Dallas, 10 grand is really good. So we, anyway, after we went ahead and closed on it, and, title, and it was a pretty simple process to close it and whatnot, which is not always the norm.
Yeah.
Well, what I did is, for my half, as a partner, I used my husband's IRA to buy my half of the property, and my partner used cash. Okay, so we closed. We put a handwritten sign in the yard in English and Spanish. 3 days later, we sold it for $50,000. Nice. So our terms were 20% down. So we got our $10,000 back, right? And so the title company held the $10,000. We closed and everything, and that was about not quite a year ago. And we happened to be in the neighborhood the other day, and they are fixing it up, and it's going to be a cute house.
Nice.
So, and this house was a mess. We didn't do anything to it. So that had me sold on owner financing, because I think there's a real people that, there's people that have the trades and they know how to fix all this stuff up. My return on investment on that property is like, I don't know, it's well over 150%.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Crazy. So, yeah.
Well, very, very cool. There's so many things I want to ask next. Well, let's talk about, because I have a lot of people, at least 3 or 4 years ago, Texas was the hotbed for out of state investors, California guys like me.
Oh, yes.
But I hear, I hear property taxes have gone up every year, especially on investment properties. And now it's, they squeezed all the cash flow out. So it's really hard to run.
I'm living proof of that. This just, I would say since 2014, because every year they have to put on there, how much they're raising the taxes. And my own personal home, like 42% in the last 4 years. It's crazy. Wow. So rental properties, it's tough. And I had a situation, I believe in long-term tenants. I like that.
Yeah.
On my first rental property, I had to tell my tenant to get out, because he, even with raising the rent, so the rents haven't kept up. I mean, they haven't kept up with how much the property tax is. And one big repair, like myself, I had to put in a new AC unit. Oh. And the property taxes, your cash flow. So there's actually, I'm not really looking for rentals here. I don't think it's the right market for rentals here.
Yeah.
The rents have gone up, but the acquisition cost is too much for rentals right now. Now, I do remember the day when, oh my gosh, a lot of people from California were coming in, and houses that, like, we bought our rentals, 10, 15 years ago. So those houses have more than doubled in price as far as appreciation and whatnot, which is great, which is great on one hand, taxes and whatnot, but for cash flow, it's painful.
Yeah, well, that's again, that's what, again, I'll pick on California because that's where I am, right? We need to realize that other areas, because we have something called Prop 13 here, right? Like, I bought stuff during the crash at land value that all they can raise it is like 3% a year, which is basically nothing, right? It's like $10 literally, right? So when you go to another area, you got to look at the property taxes. In Texas, it's just the greatest example, because I know California investors now that are contemplating walking away because their property taxes have killed cash flow and they're negative.
Well, tell them to call me before they walk. So.
There you go. There you go. Well, the other thing I want to...
You know what? We're actually considering either owner financing them, but it's tough to owner finance depending on the house. So that's why I was really focused on protesting taxes this year, because the example I was talking about on the house that I want to sell for like $175, $180, the property taxes at $292 are like $60, almost $7,000.
Wow!
And if you're selling a house to someone in that price point, there's no way they can afford that. So this is where I'm saying that I'm trying to help people have affordable housing, because before I sell that house, I'm protesting the taxes. And that will benefit whoever buys the house, because otherwise they're going to, at least for the first year, they would have to absorb those really high taxes. Now, once they move in, they'll get the homestead, but still, if you don't get the county to bring, or the appraisal district to bring it down. And so I was really focused on that this year, not just on my rental properties, but when we're doing owner financing, I'd look at what the appraisal district had it for, and I protested every single one of them. And I have some hearings coming up, and I'm prepared because it's super easy to do it. I've made a really short, kind of crazy little stick people video on YouTube about how to protest your property taxes. It's super easy, but people just don't do it, and then they're like, oh, I have property taxes. So yeah, no.
Very cool.
Got to protest them.
Yep. Well, one other thing you talked about I wanted to hit before we wrap up was virtual assistants.
Yes.
Sounds like that's a key part of your business. How do you find them? How do you use them? What do you think? Tell us about VAs.
Okay, so virtual assistants are pretty much, if you're going to scale, you've got to, either bring somebody in. Now I have an assistant that she kind of helps me manage that process. But as far as finding them, I've found some on Facebook. I found Upwork. I've actually found them. Now, one thing I will say is if you've never hired a virtual assistant, go out there and there's all kinds of videos and YouTubes about how to interview them. And a really good book I used was Fire Yourself. And it has to do with actually getting acquisitions manager. But I took the premise of the book and used it to hire virtual assistants so that you kind of put them through some stats. And we use them for scrubbing lists, and we use them for cold calling. And so that's been really, and when I say cold calling, what we're doing is we're doing a mailer and then we're following up with a cold call, right? And there's a whole lot of other management that has to go into it. And that probably, we're still calculating how much that's increased our business, because we started cold calling last November, and you have a few months and whatnot, but we're getting a very good return on investment. And direct mail has gone down, but I feel but people still respond to direct mail. I still get people calling. But with the cold calling on the behind it, it's fabulous, because, and then once you have that set up, then we have a system where we can put people that aren't willing to sell today. And then we automate them with our email campaign. And then I have a VA that takes care of that as well. So yeah, you have to have people helping you. So, and they're a great resource.
Now, I missed it if you said it. Your VAs are in the Philippines, or?
They are in the Philippines. Yep, I have. I know you can, and that's just where I have mine, and I have Skype calls. So I haven't had any problem with the language barrier or anything like that. I think it's, they're very educated folks. So.
Very, very cool. Well, as we wrap this up, I want to thank you very much, Nancy. This has been so much fun for me. Winning Deals in Heels is an awesome book, and should be bought by more people and inspire women. I love how you tied all that together. How can people follow you?
So they can find me at on my Instagram, KBN Homes LLC, my website, kbnhomes.com. They can find Winning Deals in Heels. They can email me at nancy@kbnhomes.com. So love to, find me on Facebook, KBN Homes. KBN Homes, just put me in Google and you'll find me. So.
I like that. Business owners who have one tag, and mine's one rental at a time, so I get it. That's really good. Well, Nancy, I want to thank you very much for doing this for me. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to connect back in January at another networking event, another real estate conference, right?
Yeah, exactly. You got to network. You got to grow your network all the time. So thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun.
All right. Thanks.